Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bronx Music Heritage Center's percussion discussion for the month of October. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to be back with you again for our great discussion and interview today with a great percussionist and drummer, Ricky Gordon. So before we start our interview, I just want to thank our funders, give a shout out to the BMHC's funders. The Bronx Music Heritage Center program is supported in part by the National Endowment for the Arts, the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the New York State Legislature, public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, the Lily Auchincloss Foundation, the Laurie M. Tisch Illumination Fund, and the Howard Gilman Foundation. And today, as I mentioned, we're really excited to have with us someone who currently makes his home shuttling between the Bronx and Brooklyn, and we have Ricky Gordon with us. And Ricky has recorded with a diverse array of musicians, from Wynton Marsalis, Alice Coltrane, John Baptiste, to the Allman Brothers and Parliament-Funkadelic. He has also worked on numerous film scores, many of them for Spike Lee. And not only is he a drummer and percussionist, he's also a master of the washboard. So we're going to talk about all those elements of his career today. And one thing before we start, everyone, if you're watching you should be watching on our Facebook page. Go into the Facebook comments section. If you have any questions for Ricky, please put them in the comment section, and we will make sure that they get asked during the interview at some point. And so before I hand it over to Bobby Sanabria, I just want to say that it's great to have Ricky on here. I was lucky enough I met Ricky a few years ago by a total accident. We were both sitting on a panel for Music Underground, the group that chooses the musicians who will be performing the subways. And I was asked to be a sub on this panel because my director at City Lore couldn't make it. So I was sent and got to hang out all day in Grand Central where they had the auditions, and we listened to different musicians all day, and I got to sit right next to Ricky, and that's how we met. But I know right now I'm going to introduce you all. Welcome all our other artistic director from the Bronx Music Heritage, Bobby Sanabria, who knows Ricky through the world of music that they in the music scene in New York City. So welcome, Bobby Sanabria.
Saludos, amigo. Welcome, everyone, to the place to be, the Bmhc Bronx Music Heritage Center, as we continue our ongoing series, Percussion Discussion, where we speak with the great drummers and percussionists living today, and particularly in New York City. It's my indeed pleasure and honor and privilege to welcome tonight someone I've known for many, many years, but many of us on the scene really don't know a lot about the rich history that he has as a musician here in New York City and beyond. The one and only, the great Ricky Gordon. Ricky, also known as Dirty Red, affectionately by we who are very close to him. Ricky, welcome, my brother, to Percussion Discussion tonight at the Bronx Music Heritage Center.
Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to be here with you and a privilege, and I thank you so much. I've been looking forward to, just this dialogue with you anyway, period. I'm glad to be here.
Right. So, Rick, I know of your work with the great Wynton Marsalis. You've done a lot of movie soundtracks in terms of the work you've done with Spike Lee. And a lot of times when musicians do movie soundtracks, they might get credit at the end as the credits roll at the end of while the music is playing in the background. But a lot of times people don't even read the credits, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a anonymous work, but highly, highly skilled work. But before we get into all of that, I want to get into a little bit of your background. Where were you born? When were you born?
I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, March the 21st, 1963. So that makes me 58 years old.
Fantastic. Now, do you come from a musical family, and how did you get into drums and percussion?
Well, my great grandmother played the organ and piano, and her name was Lula, and everybody has some musical little abilities, but they didn't go into professional. She probably did more than anyone, but my mom had little abilities on reading music and playing, but that was not their profession. My grandfather, my father's father, he played the violin and piano, which was the son of Lula. His name was Willie, so he played, but nobody else went into it professional. Had an uncle who played trombone also, Willie's son. Well, my dad was a truck driver, teamster, tractor trailer driver.
Hardcore then, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a teamster, you're hardcore. In any case,
Hardcore.
yeah. So describe the music scene that you were growing up in Atlanta at the time. Was there music all around? Atlanta is a very famous southern city, a lot of history. Describe the scene you were growing up with musically.
So seeing I was growing up with, was bands and I lived right by the college, right by Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta University, Spelman, Morris Brown. So we had a big scene in the parade band, with the snare drum, with the marching band. So that was really big. Had a lot of funk bands down there. And Atlanta is sort of like a transient city, I should say, because you have 7 universities in my neighborhood. So I grew up in Fast Street Bottom section of Atlanta, John Hope Homes, University Homes, and so a lot of that was going on. And I went to one of the best high schools there, Booker T. Washington High School. We had one of the best marching bands. I mean, we would rival Morris Brown and Clark and Morehouse band. We were a high school band. So, and then playing with everybody and learning and going down to places like New Orleans and family all over everywhere.
Now, was you talking about the marching band tradition that you kind of grew up in because of where the area that you grew up with all those college bands surrounding you?
Mm-hmm.
Were you growing up as well in the home listening to jazz, R&B, etc., pop music as well?
Well, I grew up listening to a lot of R&B and also country music. Believe it or not, I love country music. And I mean, like old country, people like Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty, Patsy Cline. I love all the traditional music, and also listen to a lot of music from Cuba, a lot of music from Puerto Rico, and a lot of music also from Africa, which the music that came to Puerto Rico, came to Cuba, I wanted to go back and trace the roots of that music.
Mm-hmm.
How did it get there? How did it get in Puerto Rico? How did it get in Cuba? So I said, let me go back and listen to the music from Ghana, or music from Nigeria, or from Senegal. I was always intrigued by what people now call world music. Mm-hmm. And me also playing the drums and playing percussion, I always was curious. And you asked me how did I start playing. Well, it's just like probably every kid, probably yourself. You're sitting at the table, you're waiting on food, you want to eat, and you start banging the table, or you're banging on your stroller. And my parents like, wait a minute, you ain't gonna tab my new table.
Right.
And they said, well, you get a drum. So they started me out with a drum. From the drum, I started playing. The band director said, well, you're not just a drummer, you're a percussionist. So now you have to play the bells. I'm like, what, bells? He said, yeah. Here you go, you have to read music. And from that, or playing timpani, or playing the marimba, or playing the xylophones. Because of the type of music we would play, we would go into the European orchestral music.
So this was all during high school band at Booker T, when you were
well, even elementary school, the band director started saying, "You're not just a drummer; you are a percussionist."
Right.
So you must learn how to read music. So even like elementary school, they sit you down and tell you, well, a piano is a percussive instrument.
Right.
And we're like, what? It's part of the percussion? Yes, sir. It's part of that. So they started teaching me that. But really the biggest part was like Booker T. Washington. And then I started being in the honor bands and playing with kids from all around the city.
It sounds like you had a fantastic musical education system in Atlanta. Kind of like I remember at one time we used to have in New York City, where you would start in grammar school. New York, usually they'd start you in the 5th grade or the 6th grade with, asking the children in homeroom if anybody wanted to learn a musical instrument, fill out an index card and put down your first 3 choices. And anybody that didn't want to learn a musical instrument, they'd wind up in the choir. So you wound up learning music anyway. So was that similar the experience with you? Like, did you start like in the fifth grade, fourth grade, or like a little bit later?
Well, yeah, it was similar, but I started like in maybe like first grade,
Wow,
where they had the little boy. So they would have the plays, the holiday plays, and I was one of the kids to say, "Hey, give it to the drummer boy." So I played the drums in one of the plays,
wow.
and from that I went on to different things and learning from that point on. So I started real early.
Who were some of your heroes when you were growing up, when you were in high school, or pre-high school, in terms of drums and percussion? Yeah.
Well, my heroes were the guys I listened to on the records,
Right.
and also you had local heroes too, local guys. I would as I started playing more and getting into you had neighborhood bands, and you had the city had concerts that they would put on every year, and I would go there and see the bands like Maga Brain or you had bands playing all around. Horace Henry had a band, and I would love to see Horace's band or you see Cameo. Those guys had moved to Atlanta then, so I would find out where these guys are rehearsing, and I would go in and see them and listen to them play. And also, by me living near the college, the universities, one of my maternal grandmother was a dietitian at Clark Atlanta University. Actually, it was Clark College there. So I would go there and listen to the jazz orchestra, Clark College Jazz Orchestra.
Uh-huh.
And I said, man, it's something about this music I love, but I wasn't sure of it. And I kept going more and more. Then I started developing a love for the music. It's just like it just pulled me right in.
Hmm. So
But
would you say this was the first time you were really exposed to any type of I hate to use the term, but just I'm going to use it as a descriptive term, hardcore jazz. Was this like the first time you had really heard any hardcore jazz, or had you heard and witnessed jazz uh, its in its pure form of, in a combo sense or a big band sense, with musicians being featured as solos? Is this the first time, or did you hear it when you were coming up in grammar school already? You know.
well, I heard some of it in grammar school because I hung out a lot with my grandfather, my father's father, and my dad loved jazz. So my dad had the jazz in the house and the blues in the house and Cal Jada in the house and I would listen to it. And also there's there was a place in Atlanta on Fair Street called the Birdcage. The Birdcage would have concerts. So you have people like Dizzy Gillespie come and play there. Also, you had the Amvets, Post One, 292, places where the musicians would come to Atlanta and play. So my dad would take me to hear them, or my grandfather, when I was a little boy, to hear the music because they loved the music. And
Wow.
then being at Clark, being right there by the campus, there was a tour called the National Black Jazz Network Tour, which the president at the time, Dr. Blake, and James Patterson, who was the president, who was the band director at Clark, and Dave Bailey here in New York, where I
Right.
later would come to find out Dave Bailey, they were all a part of a conglomerate getting these jazz musicians.
Yeah, Dave from
And
Jazzmobile. Yeah, yeah,
Jay from Jazzmobile, yeah.
yeah.
And these guys, they got together and said, hey, let's have these guys come and play in these colleges to keep the music going, to keep the music in the community. So I actually got a chance to see that and hear that. Also, Pascal Brothers. So it's a black owned motel because as you know the history, people couldn't go and stay in the white hotels if you were black or brown. And I'm saying black or brown, I'm including people who are Puerto Ricans and people who are Cubans. We are all the same people. The only difference we are is the language. Some speak the language and some don't speak the language.
Hmm.
So you couldn't stay in the white hotels. You had to stay in the black hotels. So Pascal Brothers had the La Carousel, which they would have people come there, like Sonny Stitt, Frank Foster, Dizzy, and those guys would always come down there.
Now
So I
these
was
guys,
fortunate enough to hear them.
Right. Now, at this time, were you taking any private lessons at all, or just getting the instruction from the general band directors you were working with at the time?
Well, at this time, I'm listening to the music. I'm trying to check it out. I'm going to neighborhood guys, listening to them play, and they're playing, groups that they're hearing on the radio, and they're trying to play Tito Puente, listen to his music and trying to copy it. I even had a set of timbales when I was a little boy, and
Wow.
try to work on timbales and try to work on different bell patterns, and learn that. And in the neighborhood bands, I actually played timbales in there, but still playing the drum set, still playing the. I wasn't playing washboard then,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
mainly it's drum set, and then um, man, and then eventually when I did start um, studying, I started studying with Jack Bell, who was at Georgia State University. He
Mm.
was the principal percussionist of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. So he started me, and we started getting more formal mallets, and started working with different books, stick control,
Right.
and those things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Wilcoxon, I started getting into those books like that, trying to get the cadence and working on your hands. My hands were always together because of playing in the marching band and learning the marching cadences. But as far as reading the cadences, that started helping even more and more.
Since we're talking about, when you mentioned your background in marching bands, etc., I have to ask you this question: what did you think of the movie Drumline? Does it give an authentic representation of what that culture is about? Uh,
Drumline, man, when I would see Drumline, man, my eyes teared up. And I'm
mhm.
not like a guy that's a crier or nothing like that, but uh, a guy who I know actually came up with that, Dallas Austin. I knew him when he was a young man, and he became one of the greatest producers in modern history in terms of R&B music. But uh, that movie showed a true depiction of what goes on in that culture, and actually was filmed on Clark Atlanta University's campus. So
Hmm.
it was real. That's what goes on. The challenging. I mean, I was coming up, and I'm going. When I graduated from high school, I went to Clark. So I attended Clark, but I was in also summer programs in Morehouse. So I always wanted to challenge the guys. When I got there, hey man, I'm gonna take your spot. You're the section leader. You ain't no real section leader. Come on, I did just what this guy did in Drumline.
Right, right,
And then they had to say, they started telling me, look, man, you need to tone it down. You need to tone it down.
right.
I mean, I've always been humble and low key, but when it comes to that playing thing, it's just a part of the tradition. See if
Right,
you
right,
can knock the guy off.
right, right.
And but Drumline, yeah, it was a real story.
Well, there's only one drag about the movie that you weren't in it. They should have asked you to be in it, you know. But maybe if there's a
I
part
was
two,
too
part
old at that point. I was in New York. Nick Cannon, man. Nick Cannon did a great job. I could.
no, but they could have had you as one of the the teachers or section lead, like section teachers or something like that,
well,
or band directors. Hopefully, maybe
well, you
if they
made
make
me.
if they make a part two, we got to make sure you're in there. So
Well, I think they did a part two, but you know what? The thing is about that. When I was doing my student teaching I went back to my high school to do my student teaching when I was at Clark, and I'm uh, I'm marching with the band. It was somebody's homecoming. I think it was Clark or Morehouse's homecoming, and I have my band director's uniform because I'm the assistant to the band director, and I look over and Spike Lee is pointing at me laughing. So Spike used to always come back to Atlanta for the homecoming. So it had to be Morehouse homecoming.
okay,
Because Morehouse's homecoming because Spike graduated from Morehouse.
wow,
And he and some guys, Monty Ross, um, Tyrone Harris, and George Folks, they wrote a grant to get some money to teach young teenagers, inner city teenagers, to have a summer job. So that job was called Young Filmmakers. And I was one of the guys that was selected to work that summer, but I worked on the music team. So that's what got me into writing music for film and being interested and also looking at credits. Like you mentioned earlier, people don't often read the credits, so they don't know who's playing on these music because when the movie finishes or the last picture, they're out the door.
right,
So these guys got me into reading credit to see who did this and who did that. And that's how I got into music for film and music for TV commercials.
And is this how you met Spike Lee, or when he was at Morehouse, a student at Morehouse?
Well, Spike Lee, Monty Ross,
Hmm.
Tyrone Harris, George Folks, those guys were at Morehouse. They're older than I am.
Hmm.
But, you know, Atlanta's not that big. And I lived right next to the campus, and I was always on the campus. So Monty was running that program, and he had Spike to come over and speak and work with us also. So from that relationship, and Spike's grandmother lived near my grandparents. His grandparents lived near my grandparents.
Wow.
So he actually was born in Atlanta, but he grew up in New York.
In Brooklyn, yeah. So
He grew up in Brooklyn.
yeah. So we we should
Yes,
have
Spike, I'm letting everybody know. I'm putting you on blast. You an Atlanta
hopefully
boy.
hopefully he's watching. So like he's probably going, how come the Bronx cats are interviewing my man here, and I'm from Brooklyn, this, that, and the other. So well,
Give me
we
a
just
plug.
lost your picture for a second there.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we see you again. All right.
Need the plug.
Now, we should have asked you, myself and Elena should have asked you before.
I got to get my plug for my phone, for my cord. I got you. That's what you asked me right now?
We should ask you to select some old photos of you in your band uniforms, when your marching band uniforms that you could have shared with
Oh, man. I don't have, I got to get them. I don't know where they are, but I'm going to have to find them. Oh, no, I'm just getting some. I'm outdoors.
No problem.
Can you see my outdoor backyard?
There you go.
Bobby.
Wow. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I got a terrace. So my phone looked like it was starting to go down.
I hear you.
Okay.
Well, Ricky, just to let the audience know, Ricky, for those of you who are watching that aren't familiar with the whole culture of drum education, snare drum education, marching band drum education, and drum set education, some of the books that Ricky mentioned, Charlie Wilcoxon books, and books by gentlemen by people like Ted Reed and others. These are standard texts that every drummer, when you start studying drums formally, you all go through to develop technique, especially the Charlie Wilcoxon books, which are fantastic tutorials for your hands. And people like Philly Joe Jones, the great jazz drummer, and many others, Alan Dawson, etc., have used them as for their own playing and for teaching their students. Yours truly studied those books with the great Keith Copeland when I was a student at the Berklee College of Music. So, Ricky, I just wanted to let you know, talking about Spike Lee and some of the other people that you mentioned, we have a message here from Bryant Borders.
Oh, yeah. Brian Borders and I were in school together.
Yeah, he says we were side by side in the music scene since the second grade.
He's right. He's right on time with that. We sure was.
And
we also spent a lot of time DJing too, because I used to DJ.
No kidding.
Yes, sir.
So it's
yes,
great
records. I did that.
We're doing this interview, so we're learning all this stuff, these factoids about you we never knew about. And he mentions that the high school jazz band that you guys played in was the only high school jazz band to play at the annual jazz festival at Piedmont Park. The only high school jazz band that was asked to play. It was so good at the jazz festival at Piedmont Park.
Yeah, we did. That's true.
Piedmont Park, is this a famous park in Atlanta?
Yeah, it's a big park. It's famous. It's like what people look at as Central Park in New York is Atlanta's version of that. Great. And we played there. They had the jazz festival. And he's right, we did. And also continued to do that with Clark. And you know who MCs that? One of our friends has still been doing it since the beginning, Ernest Gregory.
Wow.
Ernest Gregory here in New York. He goes to Atlanta every year, and he's the MC for the Atlanta Jazz Festival.
Amazing. Now your friend
I met Ernie when I was a young guy. I met him when I was a young guy. Huh?
No, I was gonna say
You
your
hear me?
friend Bryant. What does he play? What does he play? He didn't mention what he
William
played.
Bryan played the horn. I think well, he was playing drums, and Brian. I'm trying to think, Brian. Did you switch to baritone? I wanted to switch to baritone horn, but now I think he's in IT now. He's an
Okay.
IT person.
Good. I
Yeah.
got you. We'd like to remind everybody that you're watching Percussion Discussion here, live, no jive from the Bronx Music Heritage Center. And we'd like to remind you that if you have any questions for our esteemed guest, Ricky Gordon, please put them in the chat and we will ask them live to him so he can answer them for you. Now, so I'm assuming you graduated from which college did you graduate from?
Clark Atlanta University.
Clark Atlanta
Clark.
University.
I graduated from Clark. I also graduated from high school too, in case you're wondering. I know it may not seem like it, but I did.
It's good. That's good to know. Now, when you graduated, did you get your bachelor's and your master's, or just your bachelor's?
I just got a bachelor's.
Right.
A bachelor's in music education.
Wow,
But you know,
fantastic.
I like to get a master's, and I'm trying to figure out because for the last year I've been in the Bronx. I've been in the boogie down Bronx. I never thought I would end up in the Bronx. I'll come to get food in the Bronx. Go and
Brother, you're in the right place. You're in the center of the known multiverse, man.
I go there and get my coffee, man, that I love. Remind me when my grandmother was making the coffee, or my great grandmother. I'm like, or my mom making it, And so now all of a sudden, my great uncle passed a year ago in April the 8th. So my aunt calls me, his wife calls me, hey, listen, called me crying, oh, come. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, your uncle, he's gone. So I drive from Fort Greene to the Bronx. And from that day on, I've been in the Bronx. I've been staying in the Bronx in right by the Yankee Stadium, which, I'm like, I'm a baseball fan. I'm really Atlanta Braves and the Mets. I'm a New York Mets guy. But you know
You're
what?
a National League guy, yeah.
but listen, I'm also a fan of the sports.
Right.
And so now I always used to talk with the great Carolina Slim, my blues mentor. You cannot buy a team. You can't buy a team, Bobby. You can't buy the players. You can't. I mean, the Yankees have the biggest money. They got the money. They can do this. But you know what? I'm beginning to love being there, and I'm right the next block over from Yankee Stadium. So I love it, to be honest with you. But I also love coming back 2 days a week in Brooklyn.
Right. So you probably live close to where our treasured friend and colleague, the great Gonzo, Jerry Gonzalez, used to live, because he lived near
man,
near the stadium.
Yeah. Well, I'm not far from there, but James Zollis lives right up the block, the trumpet player.
Right.
James Zollis, and James lives in the same building that Lee Morgan lived in.
Wow. Okay.
He and his wife own an apartment in the same building that Lee Morgan lived in, and that's right on Grand Concourse.
Wow, fantastic. Well, there's a lot of great musicians live currently in the Bronx, like yourself, and lived like people like Herbie Hancock, and of course Jimmy Owens grew up in the Bronx. Who else? Who else? Herbie Hancock has Valerie Capers, the great pianist. She's a Bronxite. Ray Barretto. I mean, we could go on and on and on. There's so many people that are Bronxites.
I want to tell you a quick story, right fast. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is on my mind. Okay, so now, the Jazz Foundation, they sponsor concerts, to help musicians. They're a great organization. So one of my buddies, Dave Colden, called me and said, hey, man, we're going to be in your neighborhood, your aunt's neighborhood. Come by and check us out. So they're playing in the park that's in the middle of 161 and Grand Concourse.
Right.
So I said, okay, let me walk by it. So I go over there. They're playing, and I'm crossing the street, going towards the music, and I hear these guys, the musicians are saying, that guy sure looks like Dirty Red. And one of the guys said, nah, he'll never be up in the Bronx. He's a Brooklyn dude. They're like, this is a Dominican or Puerto Rican Dirty Red. And I'm like, I'm hearing the whole thing, and I'm laughing to myself. I'm like, I am he. What are you talking about? What? That's you? Man, we never thought you would come. I said, man, I've been here for over a year. What are you talking
Right,
about?
right.
And like I say, it is. And you know what? I drove by the new center that you all are building. I drove by there because I'm right near there, the Bronx Music Heritage Center.
You're right. You're talking about the new the auditorium that we're constructing, the Performing Arts Center,
Exactly.
the Bronx Music
Yeah,
Hall. Yeah, the forthcoming hall.
Bronx
Yeah,
Music Hall.
yeah,
I'm
right,
a few blocks from it because I'm at 158 in Grand Concourse, and
right.
I think you're like 161 or something right in there.
163rd Street. Yeah, and
163rd.
Melrose.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
Melrose. Yeah.
Melrose, and that's right. And yeah, and that's like I go there when I'm going to the gas station. The BP is right on the corner.
Right. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, man, you're definitely we're glad that you're part of our extended family here in the Bronx. Uh, I mentioned a few people that have been Bronxites. One of the things that most people don't know is that the Bronx has given more National Endowment Arts jazz masters than any other place in the United States. We're talking about Ray Barretto, Lou Donaldson, Herbie Hancock, Jimmy Owens. Who else, Elena? Who else?
Donald Byrd. You said
Donald Byrd.
Donaldson.
I think I mentioned Lou Donaldson already. So Lou Donaldson, Ray Barretto, Jimmy Owens, Herbie Hancock, Eddie Palmieri,
Oh
and
man, bad man.
and Donald Byrd. Yeah. So that's six National Dominators Jazz Masters that either from the Bronx or lived in the Bronx. And the Bronx has an incredible history of nightclubs, catering halls, dance halls, etc. that unfortunately was wiped out with the fires. But part of our mission with the Bronx Music Heritage Center and Bronx Music Hall is to bring that history back. So, and you're part of that history now. So,
I
we're glad to
appreciate it.
have you as an adopted son.
Thank you,
So,
sir. You know, the last time we saw each other was at the great percussionist, flautist, Johnny Pacheco's going home service. Last time you
right,
and I saw each other was there.
right,
And
right.
he also, Johnny, he when they moved from Dominican Republic, they moved to the Bronx, right? No.
Right,
He moved
right.
to Lower Manhattan, I think.
He went to PS 52 with Ray Barretto and Eddie Palmieri. Yeah, they were boyhood friends, and went to that school. My father went to that school when he came from Puerto Rico, from
Really?
Guanica. He went to that
Wow.
school. Colin Powell went to that school, PS 52. An incredible history in that one public school, and Ray Vega, one of our colleagues, a great trumpeter from the
Oh,
South.
I love Ray Vega. Yeah.
Yeah, from the Patterson Projects, proudly. He mentioned Stan Getz. Stan Getz, the great tenor saxophonist, he was born in Philadelphia, but he was raised in the Bronx, and his one of his next door neighbors was the great Helen Merrill, the great jazz vocalist. Another
What?
Bronxite, yeah.
Really?
She's from the Bronx, yeah.
The great singer,
Thank
actress.
you, Ray,
Yeah.
for mentioning that, yeah. Uh,
So now I went to do a gig. Well, I went to this Ray. I don't know if Ray is he still at the University of Vermont? Is he still
right,
working
he's
there?
there. He's still there. He's still there.
I saw him a few years ago. I was up there and ran into him up there. Yeah, man, cool.
Oh, we
And
miss him
Helen
mightily.
Merrill, man.
Hopefully, we can get him down here more to do some work back here in his home borough, the Bronx. But I'd like to ask you now:
Mhm.
when you graduated, did you come to New York City right away, or when did you first come to New York?
Well, I would come off and on in between school summer breaks. Like my aunt and uncle, they lived like Concourse Village.
Right, that's there
So
where I live.
158. So
Yeah.
right. So my uncle, he actually was born in the Bronx.
Hmm.
He was born here, but the family is from there, from Atlanta. So kind of like his dad got into it with some folks that don't look like him, and they had to beat it out of Georgia. So you know what I'm saying? So probably like a lot of us had that kind of thing go down. You don't look like the people in your community, and a lot of them come out after you, and you can fight them, and you might win on some of them, but eventually they're gonna take you down. So he came here. He was born here, and I would come up from time to time, or my mom would come up. And then eventually, I remember in college at Clark, we went on a tour with Dizzy Gillespie because we had a real good jazz orchestra, and went to play Montreux and the North Sea and the Grand Parade of Jazz, all these things. So
now, in this orchestra, were you playing the drum set or were you playing vibes, marimba, and percussion? Or...
I was playing in that orchestra. I was playing drum set. I was playing congas. Sometimes I'd be on the bongos. Although I'm not really a hand percussionist guy, I don't consider myself that. But I could get through it if I need to get through some. Mm-hmm. But I'm really, the stick guy, mallet guy, drum set or timpanis and that kind of thing like that. Mm-hmm. So we went and played. We went to Europe, and when we came back, we had a few hour layover before we drove back down because the bus driver was late coming to get us. And Bill Lee, one of my music mentors, the father of Spike Lee, showed up. He and his wife and his son Arnold, they were there to meet me at the airport and said, "Come on, you're going with us." So I spent that summer staying with Bill Lee and learning how to get more tight on writing music for film and learning how to color things. And that would be a thing I would start coming more and more to work with Bill Lee or learn from him. But I want to mention how that jumped off, how that relationship started. Is Spike shot a film called School Days in Atlanta in '87. So that film, let's see, was it '87? Yeah. That film I'm trying to think, was it 80? Yeah. Maybe a little later. But that movie, it's dealing with college life and the difference between, this person being from that background and all Black, brown people in different backgrounds and how the thing happened with the neighborhood. So Bill Lee was the composer for the movie. Mm-hmm. So there had to be some parts, some music that was performed before, doing the film. So Monty Ross called me up, and he was the producer with Spike, and they were in college together. He said, "Hey man, I want to know if you've been BSing down there in Atlanta all this time. You've been in school. Did you learn anything in music?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I learned something." He said, "Okay, we're gonna bring you on to be the assistant to assist Mr. Lee." I said, "Okay." He said, "Here's his phone number. He's staying at this hotel. Here's his room." So I called Bill Lee up. Said, "Hey, I'm supposed to be assisting you." And they said, "Yeah." He said, "Come on over. Meet me at the Ramada Inn. Meet me at the restaurant." So I came to the restaurant, met him maybe about 9 p.m. We had dinner. He pulled out a stack of music paper and blank music paper and a score. And he gave me a box of number 2 pencils. And he said, "Here." He gave me that, and he said, "Here, here's $50, signed it." He tore off a bag, brown paper bag, and wrote "receive $50, whatever." He said, "Sign this. Here you go. I'll see you in the morning at 7 a.m. I'm thinking to myself, what? Now I got to take the score and transpose all the parts for the marching band. We're talking about the bass clef, the treble clef. Then we're talking about the French horns, the trumpets, the first trumpet, second trumpet, third trumpet, baritone, trombone, sousaphone, clarinets, flute, piccolo. I'm like, what? And I'm saying to myself, I can either sink or swim. This Monty Ross, Spike Lee, and they giving me this, and the dad is like, "Okay, 7 a.m. I pulled it off. I stayed up all night. All night. No drugs.
This was for like the School Days movie?
Yes, sir. I have a credit in the School Days. It says under the direction of, and it has the band directors of the marching bands and my name and Bill Lee. And I'm also in that film, School Days.
Oh, well, I saw it, so now I got to really watch again. So you're like kind of like Alfred Hitchcock. You appear for a second or two. And
Yes, sir. I'm in a few scenes. I'm in a scene, and that's when I had a decent, I didn't have no, I was still working out or whatever. I had my shirt off and my swimming trunks on, and there's a dance called the butt in the film.
Right,
We're
right.
doing that, and then there's a slow drag number in there, and Phyllis Hyman is singing. So I'm in there all hugged up on the girl. So
Wow.
we did that.
So you didn't have a
Yeah.
beard at the time, I'm assuming.
No beard. You know, when my father saw my beard, my father was like, he didn't say anything. He just did this. I said, okay, Dad, I understand. Because my dad is clean shaven.
Right, right.
Clean. He have a little mustache, but he's, his hair keeps his hair short. It's short, but it can grow long. Like my hair's down here. I'm like a whatever, I don't. And I keep it always covered up because, we got this thing like you do down in Puerto Rico or Cuba. They tell you they get a piece of your hair and drive you crazy and you never leave them and all that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
So I don't like the women touching my hair.
Well,
My
Pilongo,
grandmother
like
always
magic
said,
spell, yeah.
yeah, gree or that stuff. My grandmother used to always say, listen, when you go to the barbershop and they cut your hair, get your hair and take it home. Bring it home and you burn it up. Burn your hair up.
Right,
So it's
right.
been a practice in my family since I was a little boy.
Wow, interesting, man. Well, we got for those of you who haven't seen the movie School Days, especially young people, it's definitely a must-see film. Uh, it's very insightful in terms of the dynamics in terms of black fraternities in college life, and
That's right.
the extra added attraction is that our guest Ricky Gordon is doing the butt in one of the scenes.
Well, listen, I'm doing, that's something. I'm doing the dance called the butt. I want to make sure y'all understand what he's saying. But that was kind of like the beginning. Besides the two movies we did, the young filmmakers, and then I would eventually start doing other movies. I remember. Okay, so now I'm in New York. I'm coming to New York, and I'm hanging out a lot with Jeff Tane Watts and Wynton and Branford and Kenny Kirkland and the Gongs. Gonzalez. I'll go see him, and also go and see. Just try to see all the guys, man, when they were playing. Go to see Tito Puente or Ray Barretto and Warren Smith, M. Boom.
Most definitely, yeah.
All the cats, I would go and see them and just listen to them. And Tane would say, hey, man, come on, we're going over here. We're going over here. Him and Kenny Kirkland were like two peas in the pod. They ran, they were everywhere. They was always together. Say, hey, man. So I'm like a little brother to them. Come on, man. Let's go here. We're going to check out this guy. We're going to the Bronx to see this. Or we're going over there. So I started listening to more and more of music and also with the percussion.
Right.
More and more and just getting intrigued and saying, man, what is this? And it always kept calling me back to it to expand my horizon than just what I was doing when I was down south.
Right, man. Mm-hmm. Now, when you came to New York City, you're working with Spike Lee, assisting Billy, his father, who's a great bassist and composer, and you're going on, and you're also performing on the soundtracks as well, like in your role as a drummer and percussionist, right? I'm assuming you played on the soundtrack of School Days as well.
Yeah, I did, because the music to the marching band we did is on the soundtrack, but they did some sweetening when they came back to New York. So I'm still in Atlanta at that time. But when I initially came up, I ended up staying one of those times. And Monty, who's the vice president at the time, with Spike and producer, and one of his schoolmates, said, "Hey man, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you gonna do? You gonna go back home and do what? Play in the neighborhood bands or what?" I was like, "Well, yeah," but he was like, "Listen, man, you need to be here." And also, Spike always said, "You need to be in New York." He would see me in Atlanta. "Man, you need to come to New York. You're serious about playing jazz. You can't do it from there. You need to be here where the action is." So Monty said that, and he put me up. I stayed with him for a little bit, or I would stay with Bill Lee, and then eventually, um, I stayed with Monty again, and then Spike's sister Jawar was getting married, and once she got married, she moved out of her apartment. I took over her apartment, her lease, and Monty, I'm talking about Monty Ross, helped me to get my independence. Like, in other words, when I got my money up and I started working for Spike, I wasn't working in music for him. I was kind of working as one of his assistants.
I see.
And then he put me in the store. He had the store called Spike's Joint. And he was like, look, you got to work in the store.
You mean the store where he sells like T-shirts, hats, and
yeah, I was in there for a minute, and then they were like, you got to be one of the managers. I was like, man, I don't know nothing about no cash register. Well, don't worry about it. Somebody will teach you. You know, you got to learn how to do that and Z out and credit card stuff. I'm like, man, here I am. I'm like, here I am doing this. I'm like, okay. Then there was a lot of festivals. You know, like you have the Caribbean Day Festival or the Puerto Rican Day Parade Festival or the Dominican Festival, or all these festivals that go on. Right. Not only festival, but you know, they had the parades and stuff today. So Spike Lee would go out and sell T-shirts and hats and sign autographs. So right. You know, of course, we got to be there. I was the money man.
Right. And
let me tell you, so I'm there.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When Spike Lee has one of these events where he appears, it's like a mob scene at a big gigantic rock concert, like something for the Rolling Stones. I can attest because honored guest invited me and Elena to one time. Man, it was like and
that's right.
We're from the Bronx, me and Elena, and we're like going, man, don't tell anybody we're from the Bronx. You know?
You better not do it.
If we say anything, we're from Brooklyn, you know, like we're from Red Hook.
Yeah, you better say it. You better say Red Hook, because they screaming the Bronx, they got their hands in there, and Spike is like, Brooklyn, Brooklyn. And then it's like, and Bobby's calling me. Bobby's like, where are you? Where are you? I was like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. He's like, man, we get ready to leave. I said, no, I'll be there. I'll be there. Bobby and his wife turned around, came back, and we were able to finish and talk. And man,
yeah, that was a great day. That was a great day. It was so.
You had just completed. Well, you had completed the West Side Story, right?
Right, the West Side Story Reimagined project. Yeah.
Imagine, oh man, what a beautiful project.
Thank
and
you
know what, Spike still would give them hell, because he's like, where the Latino? What's going on?
Right.
You couldn't have found somebody to play the Natalie Wood character?
Right.
He's on them. Do you know they're remaking it?
Well, yeah, the new movie is out. It's not out, but it's coming out
now.
December
Yeah,
10th. It's coming out December 10th, and we have high hopes for it. So let's keep our fingers crossed. You know, Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner involved, and they're obviously geniuses. So let's see what happens. But I have a comment here from a good friend of both of us, Roberto Marrero. Who you know, and he wants to know.
Out of a lot of trouble.
He wants to know. He wants to know. Hey Rick, did you play Lionel Hampton in a movie?
I sure did. I played Lionel Hampton in Malcolm X, Spike Lee's Malcolm X, and I tell you, I am still honored. You know, when I think about the movie, or my dad called me, hey man, you know, I saw the film, and even I saw Spike a few weeks ago at Terrence Blanchard's opening of Fire Shut Up in My Bones at the Metropolitan Opera.
Right,
he said, man, the opera. He said, so I'm sitting there, and Spike is saying, hey, I was looking at you. I was looking at you yesterday. And I'm like, oh, okay, you were looking at me yesterday. I'm like, all right, okay. No, you don't understand. I was looking at you, man, on the big screen. And I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. And I was like, okay. He said, Malcolm X. And I started laughing. I said, oh, man. Thank you, man. And this is just a couple of weeks ago. I was like, man, to you, thank you. I'm so you know, I hung out a lot with Lionel Hampton. because I always admired him as a drummer, as a percussionist, a former percussionist. So when I would come to New York, I would go to his house and say, "Listen, I'd like to get a lesson from you on the vibraphone or the drums." And he said, "Okay, work on this, work on that." And then when I was honored to get the part to portray him, he started telling me a lot of things that happened, with his relationship with Malcolm X, and I invited him to the set when we filmed the movie, and he came, and it was so much of a ruckus. Spike came and said, "Hey man, take your man up in the balcony," because we couldn't even film anymore. Everybody just was there taking pictures of him, and man, he was a beautiful guy, man. Just one of the greatest ever.
Yeah, I must say he was a rock star. I mean, I witnessed it firsthand in Europe at the Nice Jazz Festival. I happened to be with Mongo Santa Maria at the time, and we were coming on after him. He did like 4 encores. The crowd would not let him go.
What?
It was amazing. It was just amazing. I mean, that's when I realized how the power that jazz could have as a music in terms of possessing people, just like rock performers do at these huge, gigantic concerts. So Lionel was definitely in that league, and I must say also he was a great ambassador for the music, fantastic entertainer, and a lot of people, the kind of like the dust of time has not been kind to him because he's kind of a forgotten figure now. Um, but I'm so glad that you played him in the movie. And what did he think of your portrayal of him in the movie? Was he happy with it?
Oh yeah, he loved it, man. I got his full support because I hung out with him so long because I started to learn how his mouth was, or when he had the mouse in his hand, and how to hold my mouth and my head, and how to do things that he did. And I actually, Spike was like, "You got to put the band together. You got to do it."
Mhm.
So I picked all the guys who played in the scene, and 3 people that I tried to get in there that we weren't successful at getting in that band. I wanted Donald Harrison in that band, and actually Spike wanted him in there too, but we weren't able to get that straightened out. I wanted Kenny Garrett also in that band, and I wanted Roy Hargrove in that band with me, but we just couldn't, we just couldn't, the guys, they this or that or whatever, but those are 2 guys I really wanted in that. And look, listen, I was very happy what we had, who played in the band or played in
Right,
the scene, because a real musician. And Spike was like, wow, because he knew I was coming with the real.
right. Hmm.
And we really rehearsed on the music and got it down. But Hamp was very satisfied. If he wasn't, he would have told me.
I was very impressed when I saw the movie for the first time in a theater, how accurate it was. You guys are playing Flying Home and everything, and just the movements, everything. You know how it is. Me, and any other musicians that have seen musicians portrayed in movies. The fingerings are off with the horns. The drummer's playing the hi hat, and he's really on the ride cymbal. And you're laughing at some of the stuff. Like it's like you go, man, doesn't anybody care? But in this case, with Spike Lee, he really, really, really did care. So kudos to you and kudos to him. Now we have a question here from Marsha Salter. She wants to
Oh,
know.
I love her. Marcia
What,
Salters, yeah.
well, you're gonna love this question. What did Lionel Hampton tell you about his relationship with Malcolm X?
Well, he told me that Malcolm X loved the fact that he never got a conk. Guys were getting conks and slicking their hair and straightening their hair and stuff.
Right,
Lionel Hampton never did that. And
right,
and and he told me that Malcolm respected him so much because of that, because he was proud of his heritage. He
right.
didn't try to alter who he was. He was like, "This is who I am," and so they were very close. Because at that time they were calling Malcolm Detroit Red, and he's always come and hear him and hear him sing, and hear him play. I should say that. But yeah, Marcia Saltzman, great photographer.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, Bryant wants to know, how did you get the part in Malcolm X?
I mean, I don't even know to this day. I mean, it's I think Ruth Carter. No, was it Ruth? No, yeah. May have said there's a part in the script. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe it said that Ruth was the costume designer, and I don't know. I think I told Spike I want to audition for the part. I heard it was it was in the script. So then I said, I think I left him a message or a note. I'd like to audition for
Mm.
it. And just voila, I mean,
Right.
you can't with him, if you ain't got the goods, he's not gonna waste no time if you ain't the right one for it. And
Right.
I really took it, I didn't take it for granted. I really worked on that and spent time. Like I said, I went to Hamp's house. I went to his house, period. But then once I got the part, I just hung out with him even more and I started rehearsing the band.
Right.
Once I
Right.
put it together, we rehearsed. And the guys were saying to me, well, when are you gonna bring the vibraphones? When are you bringing the vibes? I said, don't worry about that. I'm with it. My part playing the vibes is on. I got to make sure the band sound good and the band is balanced. So finally, when I brought the vibes, they were like, "Oh, okay, this guy is real." They knew me real as a drummer, but they didn't know me as a vibraphone.
Right.
They
Right.
never because I don't bring the vibes out a lot. They're heavy. People not really paying you the right money to bring your vibraphones. I mean, I I was doing a record with Public Enemy with
Mm-hmm.
Chuck D. He's like, hey man, he wrote me, called me, look, I need you to play on this record we're doing. It's called Tribute to JB. But they call it Trib, Tribb.
Mm-hmm.
Trib to JB. And all the music that Public Enemy had done using James Brown samples and stuff, Chuck wanted to redo it with real musicians. Rocky Bryant, this guy, that guy. And he said,
Rocky
listen, I
Bryant, the
want you,
percussionist. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the percussion drama, he's playing on it. So Chuck's like, look, I want you to play some percussion on it, but I really want you to play vibraphone on It's a Man's World.
Mm.
So Johnny Juice Rosado, Johnny's one of Chuck's guys. Johnny sent me all the tracks without the rap on it, so I can listen to it and study it. On my way to Chuck's recording studio in Long Island, my buddy Powell Burns and another buddy of ours, Peter Ware was driving, and in some kind of way we made a turn, and the vibraphones tilted over. They didn't fall all the way on the side, but they tilted. And when we got to the recording studio, Bobby, the motor wasn't working right. The motor was starting and stopping, starting and stopping.
Right.
So I was like, man. So from that day on, I said, I'm not taking them out of my house, my home anymore. I'll
Right.
rent some. And those vibes that I have that I actually used in Spike's movie, I bought those from Curtis Mayfield.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, because I played with him a little bit. And those were the vibes that he used on Superfly and all those songs, Eddie, You Should Know Better. And those are the same vibraphones. And I use them in Spike's film.
If I may ask, is it a Deegan or a Musser set?
It's a Musser.
Okay.
It's a Musser. They were actually called like the One-Nighters. And
Right.
Hamp told me they were actually supposed to name that after him.
Mm.
That set. But the set is from the 40s.
Right. Well, I must say again, for those of you who are watching who are not familiar with the name Lionel Hampton, you must see this man. He was a genius drummer and a genius vibes player. If you really want to get a sense of his importance, I would suggest when you go to YouTube, look up Lionel Hampton on the Merv Griffin show, and you'll see something from the 1960s that I saw when I was a kid live on TV that blew my mind. It's Hamp playing vibes, and then he switches to the drums midpoint with the house band there, and him and Roy Burns, the house drummer for Merv Griffin at the time, go at it. And then the one thing about Hamp, he could juggle sticks.
Oh, he sure could.
Man, amazing. Still, people crack me up when they say, show me rock drummers that twirl their sticks. I go, yeah, check this out. You know? And their mouths just, you know, their tongues hang out. So the great Lionel Hampton, may he be resting in peace and power.
That band
Well,
in Atlanta was called the Chaparrals. Horace
okay.
Henry had the Chaparrals. I would see them. But listen, speaking about Hamp, I saw him and Jeff Tane Watts go at it
Wow.
in Montreux. They
Wow.
went at it. I wonder where that. I wonder if there's a film of it because this is in '82. I was
It
in
has to
college then.
exist because they would film everything. Yeah, it has to exist. Yeah.
I like to see that they were going at it, and I tell you what, it wasn't no easy. It wasn't no cakewalk for Tane.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, just I mean, I think
And Hamp was flipping his sticks and everything.
right, 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 right. Now, um, when I first met you, I thought because of your association with Wynton that you were from New Orleans. So now we know you're from originally from Atlanta. Did and you are very much an avatar of the incredible washboard tradition. Now, did you ever live in New Orleans at one time? And how did you learn this washboard tradition?
Well, I spent time in New Orleans, but I know more than playing with guys from there, and going there from time to time. But the washboard, the traditional one, the wooden one, like I have two. I have one wooden one that I use that is modified to sit on a stand. And then I
Okay.
have the Fatwa, the one that goes over like a breastplate. So
Right.
the one that sits on the stand, I started playing that when I started playing with Carolina Slim, the great
Okay.
blues player that's from Denmark, South Carolina. Elijah Staley was his birth name. And he was a part of the Music Under New York program, played in the train station. And he would say, listen, I had a Rims headset. You know the Rims headset?
Yeah, those they're like pancakes.
Yeah, the drum. Yeah, they don't have any shells,
Yeah, right. Any body, yeah. It's like it looks like
anybody on it.
almost looks like a roto time, yeah.
Yeah. So I had that set an endorsement with those guys, and when I came to New York, I had that, and he said, listen, come out and we met at a Busta Rhymes film shoot. They wanted two musicians in the film, so he saw me. Say, listen, man, I'm going to be doing this. I want you to play this gig with me. I said, okay. So I brought the drum set in the train station. And then he would say to me eventually, listen, lighten your load. You start playing the washboard. I was like, okay. So then he said, hey, do that and do this and work on it. And then I wanted to have my own signature with the washboard. So I got the shotgun shells. That's my signature. Instead of using thimbles or a knife or scissors, I got the shotgun shells. And let's see, I have one here. I got the pink one because pink, is breast cancer month. Shout out to the ladies and the survivors of it. So pink, so I use the shotgun shells when I'm playing the washboard. And I started doing that. And as I started getting into more and more, I was on tour with Wynton with the quintet.
Before you explain that, can you show us how you use it? Like, do you put it on your thumb, your fingers?
Okay, so what I do, I use them on all. Okay, I put them like. Let me show you how they look. I put them on four fingers. I put them on both, on the left hand and the right hand, and so I rake it down to get a sound. It's really rhythm, but also I try to I develop a technique where I can play like a marching drum. I mean, like to try to imitate a snare, a roll, a drum roll. Right. And since I grew up playing that marching stuff, so I could do that and I rake it, and then as so I started doing that, scrubbing, scraping, imitating washing your clothes. I don't know which came first, the washboard was it an instrument or was it used to wash your clothes? I know in the old countries, you know, like Puerto Rico, Cuba, whatever, Africa, they use it to wash clothes. I think the guy was playing as an instrument and he got drenched and he took his clothes off his feet and started washing it. I think it was a musical instrument first.
Right.
But
I always say that the washboard is the African American guiro, you know.
let me tell you something. It is the African. That washboard is from Africa. And one of my birthdays, Jeff Tane Watts and his lovely wife, Laura Kell, they gave me an African washboard for my birthday one year.
Wow.
So Tane said he was at a vintage store and there were two. He bought one for himself and one for me. He may have bought it for me, one for me and one for him. I have it vice versa. But he gave me one. They gave me one for my birthday and I have it. And it's carved out of wood. So it goes way back to there.
Right.
It predates the Guido. It was the Guido was over in Africa then, you know, the different islands, the different places got dropped off. So then fast forward. I was on we were in Atlanta and Wynton, we had done a concert at my alma mater and we was on tour and I didn't bring the washboard out. I left it in New York. I don't know why I left it. I didn't bring it. And he was like, well, man, where's your instrument? I said, I left it in New York. He said, why'd you do that? How you gonna play? He said, you always supposed to bring your instrument. You out here on the road and I'm like, man, you didn't tell me this or that, whatever. So okay, we're leaving Atlanta. We go to New Orleans. And I see a cat down there. And the cat had seen me before play, you know, he's a guy from New Orleans. I said, man, I'm in a dilemma. We got this gig coming up and he said, yeah, I see y'all gonna be in Baton Rouge tomorrow. I said, man, I left my instrument. He said, well, I'll get one for you. He said, how long you want the washboard to be? The Fatwa, the one that goes over. He said, I'll bring one. And he took a measurement of me. Brent Bodine. Brent he measured me. And the next day, he showed up with the washboard right before the concert in Baton Rouge. I told Hurl and Riley, it's on now, boss. I told him it's on. I said, you think you playing them drums, it's on. Me and you gonna go at it. He said, oh yeah? I said, yes, sir. I'm gonna tear your tail up. And we went at it. And we go at it every chance we get. You know, and I love it. You know?
Is there any video of this, like on YouTube at all?
I don't know. There's some jazz and Liquor Center did with the instruction, but I'm not getting to it because I don't know. I tell you what is really good if we could ever find it. That's the thing I'm going at it with Jeff Tane Watts and Pedrito Martinez. Down at the old Zinc Bar.
Wow.
Tane had a residency there. He said, come on down. It's on. I think we had 2 or 3 days of it. And buddy, it was on. I told Pedrito, well, let's do it.
Right.
You playing those things, you know, these things you beating on. And Tane is playing that, he's beating on, and I'm gonna beat on it, and we're gonna do it. And we went at it. I don't know where that's at. I know somebody recorded it. I don't know. JC, Jean-Claude, Jeff Tane Watts, where the tapes at? Bring them out.
Right. Well, we got to reproduce something like that at the Bronx Music Heritage.
Well, let's do it.
Or the Bronx Music Hall, or both.
I want to do it, buddy. I'm telling you.
Sooner than later. Now, I wanted to ask you real quick, since you got the empty shotgun shells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you got the shotgun that goes along with them shells? Because you don't just go into a store and go, I need some empty shotgun shells, you know?
No comment. You are a very wise man.
All right.
And they come in all colors too.
Right.
Got different colors.
Anyway, Um, we have a question here. I don't know who it's from, but it actually might be from Elena. Can you talk a little bit about the process of composing a music score for a film? Do you watch the film first in its entirety? Do you do research on the topic, etc., or both? You know.
Well, when I'm working on a film or working on scoring on a film, I first the person come to me to engage me. I it's twofold. I'm gonna say I'm learning now to do things differently. Okay, than I've done in the past. My first thought is when someone comes to me and say, "Hey, we want you to do this film." You know, what is it? And I ask them what it's about. Tell me this. Tell me that. And I go and do research on what further. I read the script, find out. But now the first thing you do, or maybe not me, you say, "Okay, I'm going to connect you with my business representative because it's a business." And so many of us don't think of it as a business. We are creatives. We want to give it away and they want to take it. But the thing is, it's a business. You have to find out, okay, what is the budget to do the movie? How much are you putting towards it? Because that determines what you do. I mean, it's sad, but it's a reality because I really want to just go out and create I'm going to do the best I could do. But sometimes they want you to do all these things. They want an orchestra, but they want to pay you duo money.
Right, right. I hear you.
But no, but in all actually in the creative process though, I um I asked them, well, can you give me a script? They'll give me a script. If they have not shot the film, or when they shoot it, they give me the music. I mean, they give me the film with no music on it, and they do that, and then we go from there.
Hmm. Hmm. And how long does it usually take you uh, from start to finishing? Like a couple of months, a month or two, you know?
Well, sometimes once they give me the picture, they will. Sometimes they may give you a month. Sometimes they may give you a couple of weeks. Uh, I try to get at least a month, but
Hmm.
sometimes it may go faster than that.
Right.
And then they'll and you all always I'll always try to get the film. Um, I try to get them to pay through the music union.
Right. Right.
I try to do that because the guys who've been instrumental in telling me that were Monty Ross and Spike Lee, because Spike's, as you mentioned, his dad was great bassist and he played on a lot of recordings. And that's the only way for a guy who works solely playing music or a person in the arts able to draw a pension or get some kind of health benefits, unless you're going to go to the city and go on, Section 8 or whatever. You want it to be paid in there, so your wages and then also your taxes and all that stuff come about like that. And I tell them and I explain it to them because a lot of people, when they hear the word union, they are afraid. They think, oh, these guys gonna come after me. They're gonna shake me down. No, the union is basically saying, look, this is the minimum amount that a person should be paid for their services. That don't mean that's the maximum amount. It means the minimum amount. It's like McDonald's. They tell you, hey, minimum wage is this now. That's the same thing with the union does. Now you can the sky is the limit. But then also they say, listen, you pay into their pension, health, and welfare, their retirement, all these things that we need to know about.
Right. Right.
So that's all the part. So in terms of my creative process, I get the script, I read the script, or I look at the film and I discuss with the director what he or she wants and try to give them what they want. I'd like to work with real instruments. I like to do that. I mean, although I have Logic and Studio One and Pro Tools, I have a setup in my place. I have a real piano, grand piano, and instruments, guitars, and got all the stuff, and I work on it. A bass, I got a P bass, but it's nothing like having real cats play and execute it. I don't want everything to sound like me. I mean, maybe me in terms of creativity, but I want a real saxophone. I want a real trumpet, real, and I like for all of us to play at the same time.
Right. What a lot of people don't realize is because of technology, sometimes you might be hearing something and you think it's a string section, but it might be a synthesized string section or a sampled string section because there's no budget to pay for strings, or you maybe have a budget just to play for a string quartet and you could double them or make sweeten them with synthesized strings or sample strings, things like that, what Ricky is talking about. And from a business standpoint, for those of you who are watching, when he's talking about the union, sometimes they'll contract call you and say, listen, we're going to give you a flat fee, etc. But if it goes through the union, then they have to pay to the pension fund, so that when you retire, you get a monthly pension, your taxes, et cetera, that gets reported, so that you get your Social Security, and as well as possibly royalties if the film is a major hit. There's royalties involved. So these are some of the basic things that Ricky is talking about, that you have to, speak to the person who's calling you up and wants your services as a composer. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now,
Also, I'm sorry, I want to interject one thing.
sure,
Also,
sure.
another thing that's important is the PRO, the Performance Rights Organization,
Right,
like the back end money, the royalties, the other
right,
royalties that comes from songwriting or composer, and that and the publishing. All those things are very important. And so many of our brothers and sisters who are in the creative field don't take care of the business because, like I said, we want to give it away, and other people on the other end want to take it from us,
right.
and they don't want to think about us. When you end up and your teeth are falling out of your head, and you can't walk, or you can't pay your bills. It's like, but you have to do these things, and you have to have that conversation that you really don't want to have, and it's painful because like we just want to play music. We don't want to do nothing else. But if you don't do that, down the line you get nothing.
Exactly, exactly. Now we have a question here. I don't know who it's from, but it's a great question. What tradition does the washboard that you use come from? Does it come from the Zydeco tradition or another one? And
Okay,
have you been influenced by Zydeco music?
good question. Great question. Um, the tradition of the washboard comes out of the country blues. The traditional washboard that has the wood around comes out of the country blues. But also a man by the name of Clifton Chenier or Clifton Chenier, if you want to pronounce it in the Creole way, that was from Louisiana. Um, I've been fortunate enough to now also play with his son, CJ Chenier, who was considered the crown prince to his dad, the heir to his dad, who was an accordion player. So we're talking about now in the Zydeco tradition called the Fatwa. Let me see if I can grab the Fatwa so you all can see it. It is right here. Okay. This instrument was created by, I don't know if you can see this.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
It has ridges in it,
Hmm.
and it goes over your shoulder. Like it looks like a sheet of armor. But this instrument came from C.J. Chenier's father, which was Clifton Chenier. This was the traditional washboard that I used. It has my name on it. I had it custom. A lot of friends of mine were upset that I had Fort Greene put on there because they're saying you're a Southern guy. What are you doing putting Brooklyn on there? You need to be repping the South. So this is the traditional one that I play also.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had a mount put on it. And Great Carolina Slim came up with the idea to put a mount on it. So it sits on the stand. And I modified it by putting this for the bell and the cymbal. Now, the one that CJ's father, Clifton, Clifton's father Clifton was an accordion player from Louisiana. And he came up with he's like the inventor of Zydeco. Or he gave it his name too, which means snap peas in French.
Mm.
So his brother, Clifton's brother, Cleveland, was playing the traditional washboard like this. And so Clifton Chenier was like, you know what? Let me come up with something different. And he drew the Fatwa in the sand. This one here. He drew it in the sand down in Louisiana and had a fabricator named Don Laundrie is the son of the fabricator. And the fabricator, this guy did roofing. So he fabricated it. Once the guy drew it, he said, I want something like this, where someone play it and rake it with some scissors or a knife or spoons. It gets the sound of the traditional one. So that's why this Fatwa was born. So I started playing that, and that's the one that the guy had made for me and brought to me in when I was in Baton Rouge. I was playing. I was there.
What year did he create this design for the Fatwa? Yeah.
I think it may have been in the I believe the late 40s or 50s.
Wow.
I might be wrong. To check your facts, if you go on Don Laundrie has a site, and actually he's made these for me. He makes it for a lot of people.
I have to admit, I actually have one because Ricky Sebastian, who you know from New Orleans,
Yep.
he encouraged me to get one years ago. So I actually have one, believe it or not. Yeah.
You do?
Yes, I do. Yes,
so
I
if
do.
you go on rubboards.com, you will see that. And this is another situation.
That's great that there's a website that we can go to. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and here's another situation I want to say. A lot of times, you know what I'm saying is that it is a business, you know, I mean, everybody know it and we love it. Now, Clifton designed it, but Clifton he's deceased now.
Mm-hmm.
And his family don't get any dividends from the sale of the ones now because he didn't make a monetary agreement with his friend who owned the roofing company and fabricated. So now the friend is gone to glory, Clifton's gone to glory, and the son, Don, he's carrying on the tradition of making it down in Louisiana, like close, like in swamp country and all that stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not Don's fault that his dad didn't cut CJ's father and his father didn't cut a deal. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll work it out. Maybe proceed to go somewhere, go here, go there. But listen, I'm happy I'm able to play the instrument and keep the tradition going. And I use it like when I'm playing it with my shells and I play with CJ's band, CJ Chenier and the Red Hot band, Red Hot Louisiana band. Some of that might be on YouTube too.
Now, how did you start first? How did you start playing it? Like, did you see somebody play it, and it inspired you to start taking it up yourself?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I would come in the train station with Carolina Slim with the Rims headset, drum set, right, and they all stack on top of each other. And then Carolina Slim was like, "Listen, you need to lighten your load. Come in with the washboard." Now, the washboard is a thing that's been going on down south and South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. It's been going on. But when Clifton had his brother playing it, then he decided to come out with this right here, and
Right.
strictly came out in the Cajun style of music. This particular here, this one.
Right.
It came out. It came out in that, so people started playing it. So now, I just moved from using the other one and adapted, and I would see the guys playing Zydeco, I guess, and I started playing it and then developed my own style of playing a lot with Marsalis, and trying to also change the way that the instrument was looked upon, because it goes back to the early 40s, 30s, maybe the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let me play this instrument and legitimize it.
Right.
Because nobody didn't think of it like a novelty instrument, but they can't think of it like that now. Because it's, could you think of the Guido as a novelty instrument? No. You think of playing the cowbell, if you're in the group, think of like Arsenio Rodriguez. If the guy playing the bell, it's not a novelty instrument. It's very important, right?
Exactly.
So,
it's essential to the music, the style of the music. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's technique involved in it as well. It has its own.
Very much technique. You can't get up there with no clave and be like, oh, this is like, just some sticks, something just banging apart. You mess up the clave, you subject to get killed.
Right.
You might not make it. You talking about make it off the bandstand? Hell, you might not make it off the premise.
Right.
But what happened to Ricky? Oh, he messed up. Oh, I guess he messed up the clave. There's a whole bunch of people laying down there. Everybody messed it up. It's a graveyard for the guys who mess up the clave or the cowbell.
Yes, indeed. I have two more questions for you. And again, if we have any more questions from the audience, please put them in the chat. Who gave you your nom de plume, Dirty Red?
My father.
Mm-hmm.
My father, Richard Gordon. I'm named after my father. My name is Richard Gordon Jr. But people know me professionally as Ricky Gordon. They call me that to differentiate between Richard, my dad, and call me Ricky. But then my dad started calling me Dirty Red because I was born with red hair, and also my complexion. My dad is a chocolate. He's dark. And me being, my mom is light, she's red. So I used to want to be dark. I didn't want to be my complexion. I didn't want to be a red complexion. I want to be black. I mean, I want to be dark. I don't want to be this, it's like my dad's mom was in a car accident once with someone else, and the doctor prescribed a heat lamp to shine on the womb, to kind of make the womb draw up and close up. So every morning before school and every morning after school, I would get the heat lamp and put it in the thing and sit up under it in the morning. Say school was 8 a.m. I get up at 6 a.m. and sit there for an hour and a half to try to get black. Put cocoa butter on my face in the morning, come home from school, do the same thing, put cocoa butter on my face and sit up on the thing. I want to be black. I didn't want people calling me red. I didn't want people call, red. I want to fight. Finally, Wynton Marsalis finds out from my dad, my nickname is Dirty Red, and he exploits it. Right. He's that kind of guy. Dirty Red. Oh, now it's everywhere. It's all over the universe. I can't get away from it. So guess what? I have to accept it.
Well, you got to come out now with your own, your own cereal, your own hot sauce. You can have all these Dirty Red products.
I'm working on it.
The last question for me is, how did you meet Wynton? How did that association start?
When I met him,
or the captain, as we affectionately call him.
We call him the captain. Several ways, but the most way is I don't even know if this is the right audience to say how we really met, but it ain't bad. But I guess I might as well say it. He was jumping out of a dormitory. Jumping out of women's dormitory. and I saw him, and he say, where am I, man? Can you help me get off this campus?
Well, I hope Spike Lee is listening to that because that'll be a scene in his next movie, maybe, you know.
Listen, listen, Dad, I want to tell you about a book that Jeff Watts turned me on to.
Wait a minute. What campus was it?
All girls school.
Well, you don't want to say which one.
Spelman.
Okay.
Spelman College in Atlanta.
Okay.
You know, he was doing a tour with the then he was doing his classical tour with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, where he was doing the Haydn and the Hummel and all that stuff like that.
Right.
And he would come there and you weren't supposed to be in the camp. Well, no male is supposed to be in the dormitory after hours. And when you go to visit someone there, you have to sit downstairs and you know in a sitting area to meet people. And some kind of way he slipped in there, and then the girl was about to get in trouble, whatever, so he jumped out the window.
So you just happened to be walking by. You just happened. So he didn't.
I mean, I probably was over there for up to no good either myself, but believe me, I wasn't in that dormitory at that time, and I was where at that time at that place when that man jumped out, I was there, and he said, "Hey man, and I knew the police there because I grew up right near the campus and the security, police and all that. And I said, hey man, come with me." True
so
story.
He didn't even know you as a musician or anything. You just happened to be at the right place at the right time, etc.
He had heard of it, he heard, but not. He didn't actually know it was me when I was walking by.
Right.
Like he didn't know like this is Ricky Gordon walking by. Here's a guy jumping out of a building. It wasn't like a high building, but like from the second floor.
Right.
And he's jumping down, and then as he's walking by, then there I was. So it's like true story. I didn't really want to tell it, but since you asked, that's what happened.
It's a beautiful story.
Risk. What's this? There's a new book, man, that Tane turned me on. It's called Risk Busters, I think. You know about that?
No.
Man, this thing here will work your chops out. But on that watchboard, Risk Busters. And
oh, this is for drumming, wrist busters, like your wrist.
Yeah.
Your wrist.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I got a 2-man blues group going on now called Gordon Lockwood. Every Wednesday at Terra Blues in Manhattan in October, and every Saturday at Barbez in Brooklyn in October. So it's guitar and drums. And it's like I love playing the washboard because it's light and I can get the same amount of money. But my dad is telling me, man, you're playing the washboard. Every time I look on Facebook, that's posters of you playing the washboard. You don't play the drums anymore? I'm like, yeah, Dad. When you spend all that time with the drums. So then I'm talking to my friends. Another mentor of mine, JMO, who started one of the starters of the Allman Brothers Band.
Right.
And he always said to me, yeah. Man, he's like, JMO was always like, man, every time I see you got that thing around your neck. I'm like, what thing? Man, that thing you rubbing on this. Man, what did you get on the drums, man? Get on the drums. So I'm complaining to Tane about it. Hey, Tane, man, James was telling me, man, he's tired of seeing posters of me with the washboard. And Tane was like, he's right. I'm like, what? You feel the same way? I'm like, well, damn. Hey, look, I'm going to keep playing. I don't care what they say.
No, but
I'm just starting to increase more on the drum set, or back with it, but because I'm still doing both. I'm not just doing the blues with that. I'm doing jazz. When I'm playing jazz, I'm playing the drum set. But these guys are like, man, you spend all the time on that thing. I think it's because they don't play it.
Right.
That's what I think. I mean, if I really want to be a jock about it, like in the sports world, why don't y'all learn the instrument? JMO, Tane, let me see you on the instrument, Jeff Watts.
Uh-oh. I think Jeff is. I think Jeff is watching. He might comment shortly.
He's watching. I know he is because he told me, shout out to you. Shout out to
Anyway,
Jeff Tane Watts.
real quick, talking about the uh, playing the instruments. Have you ever experimented with the washboard, hooking it up to electronics, like using wah-wah pedals or anything like that, or distorting the sound electronically like a guitar player would do, using stomp boxes and things like that? Have you an echoplex or anything like that? Have you ever tried?
No, I never done it. I think, um, I never done it. But I tell you what I did do one time. Once Jazz and Lincoln Orchestra played in Prospect Park, I said to our sound guy, David Robinson, I said, listen, I need a clip on, because I like to move around the stage. I don't want to be
Right.
one place. I take the whole stage. Dave put a thing on the washboard. Then once I was up at the Beacon, every year I go up there. When the Allman Brothers were doing their thing, I'd be a guest with them. Or now Tedeschi Trucks, I tell their guy, hey man, put this thing on. Because I let them know. I tell the guys up front, it's on. When you start the tune, y'all, why is the guitar players can stand up front? And the drums are, well, I'm not playing drums when I go to gas with them, but I'm not gonna be in the back.
Right.
I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna do like Sonny Emery did when he started playing with
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I can't think of the girl, huh? No, not even Earth, Wind, and Fire. When he was playing with what's the girl who did Straight Up? The choreographer, Paula Abdul.
Paul Abdul.
When Sonny was playing with Paula Abdul, he put the drums in the front. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Sonny Emery, who tried to give me a big problem about my birthday. Shout out! I challenged him to do a record on the vibraphone. I said, well, let's do a record on the Vibes, me and you, and the proceeds go to some, help battered women, whatever. If you listen to Sonny, it's still on.
Okay.
I'm
Maybe
letting him know.
Watching now too.
I hope he's watching. I'm letting you know, Sonny. It's on, bro. A vibraphone record. You do one, I do one, or we do it. We figure it out, and let's see who's make the most noise. And we donate the money to an organization that will help ladies, different disenfranchised, someone's going through a stressful situation. Shout out to all the brothers out there, man. Marcus Williams in Atlanta, Willie Shivers, Tommy Stewart, who's one of my mentors there, James Patterson, all the guys who helped me get to where I am, and I'm still learning. Now, my new family here in New York has been helping me. I always listen, Bobby, I always listen to you and learn from you when you break it down, even though you don't want to give me one of those bells. I know you got about 10 or 12 of them, those JK bells. I know about you. You thought I didn't know what you guys said.
I think you're talking about those JCR bells, right?
That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Tane got one of them, and you probably got 10 or 12 of them. But my buddy Willie Martinez told me he got one for me. Thank you, Willie. I want to collect it. He's the only one that got real love for me on there.
Oh man.
Well,
my
Ricky,
man, Dirty Red throwing down the gauntlet, man. First to Tane, then to Sonny, now to me.
Well, Ricky,
we're playing basketball. We're playing street ball in New York, in the Bronx.
Ricky, we want to thank you so much for this interview. It was really great. And you told everyone you're playing, they could go see you on Wednesday and Saturday nights. Do you have is there like a Facebook page or a website people can go to?
Well, we have Gordon Lockwood thing now, a website that's going on. But you can see that it's like every Wednesday in October at Terra Blues at 7 p.m. Every Saturday in October at 6 p.m. at Barbez, which is in Park Slope, Brooklyn. Johnny Soul, shout out to him too in Atlanta, and Roy Dallas. So Jeremiah Lockwood is on there with me every week.
One last question, Rick. I know I keep saying that, but it keeps popping. Things keep popping in my head. Are you working on any future movie soundtracks coming up soon at all?
Well, the last one I have now out is a movie called Seven, and it's a short film shot in New Orleans, based on two young girls who were victims of abuse. And so I worked on that music, and that film is out now. And then the last thing I did with Spike before he put the documentary that he has out now called New York Epicenter. I didn't work on that, but I worked on She's Gotta Have It, his last film, which was that's on Netflix. So I don't know, we there's some things we're talking about, but they're not really solidified yet. But we're still working on it. We're gonna see. We're working on a few things. Kate, it's too early to really announce it.
Well, again, thank you so much, Ricky. It was a really great interview. Remember, later go on check out the Facebook comment section. I think there's a lot of people who are watching today. A lot of people who know you, and we're giving you a shout out. And just everyone thank you for watching the Bronx Music Heritage Center's Percussion Discussion. And next Wednesday, we have our Music by the Book series, and we'll be interviewing we'll be talking about the new book out, Universal Tonality, written by Cisco Bradley, which is the biography of the free jazz bassist William Parker. Cisco Bradley, the author of the book, and William Parker will both be here for the interview for this program next week. So we hope to see you then, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricky, and we'll see you Sunday at the Bronx Music Hall at 12 p.m. We will have Nick Herman and his Conga de Comparsa Santiaguera, which is the Conga carnival style, the way it's not played in Havana, but the way it was originally played in Santiago, Cuba. It's a little bit different rhythmically. He'll be having an open rehearsal at the Bronx Music Hall. With the address is what, Elena? 438
East 163rd Street. It actually starts at 1 o'clock. It starts at 1.
Okay, I stand corrected. But I want to thank Jorge Vasquez as well in master control of the Starship Enterprise. The lovely Elena Martinez, my co-artistic director of the Bronx Music Heritage Center and the Bronx Music Hall. There's exciting things happening. If you want to learn a little bit about the Bronx Music Hall, and WNBC did a nice story on us for News 4 New York this past Sunday, go to the Bronx Music Heritage Center Facebook page, and you will see it there. Linda Vaccaro did a beautiful segment on us and the exciting things that are going to be happening there in the coming months. Bueno, damas y caballeros, muchísimas gracias por atendiendo esta noche su servidor Bobby Sanabria, and I'll also see you on the radio on WBGR tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the Latin Jazz Cruise. To Ricky Gordon, Dirty Red, the one and only, yes indeed, I'm Bobby Sanabria, she's Elena Martinez. Good night, everybody. Buenas noches y mucho.
Buenas noches.